Happy Hallows Eve, everybody. It's not Halloween, but it's Hallows Eve. The face is fully white. Thank you to my daughter's book with Lexi on the makeup. Um, they wanted to put makeup on me, and I let them. So,
They put it on me. That's why my
yeah.
face is fully white this week. So
So we have this going on. I am a whatever ash queen or whatever. So this is what you got. Um, we're here on another Hallows Eve. I don't have a costume like I did last year. That's okay. Um, maybe next year, it's Hallows Eve. Today I have he goes by Davis now. So I can't say Drip, but y'all know him as Drip, but I have Davis on another special episode. Um, hi, Jermaine. How are you? We're here to talk about Dynamite. We're here to talk about Collision, Rampage, Women Business, our main topic of today. And then, of course, our AEW Wrestlers of the Week. And the chat determines the show of the week. So, happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to the chat. People are starting to roll on in. Shout out to if your team won Sunday, congrats. Shout out to people's team winning on Sunday. Shout out to them boys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, shout out to them boys. So, listen, I want to send a prayer out to all the losers.
wow,
It's not tough. Not everybody
it's
can
tough
play
when y'all
like the
lose to
Cowboys.
us 3 straight years, right? Am I wrong?
We don't bring up the past on this show. We move forward. We're talking
Sure.
about
Well, the four
relevant.
is the same result it's been every year since the last 3 decades. So
We're talking about relevant things right now. We're not dwelling on the past. So shout out
okay.
to
Yeah.
everybody that won this Sunday.
Win on a meaningless Sunday, but you can't win on the important Sundays. So just saying. But yeah, no, I'm Davis, aka Drip. I've been on the show numerous times in the past. I was on the
We're,
show when it started, so y'all should know me by now. Um, yeah, happy to be back talking about a whole bunch of. There's a lot of great things in AEW this week, but a lot of bad things as well. So hope y'all are ready.
oh my God, don't start.
Not
It's
everything's all
more
good.
good things. It's more good things than bad.
Nothing is ever all good. People got to understand. It's like that on every side too. Not everything is all good on every side.
Okay. We'll see, because we'll get into it. Let's get into it.
I don't know. Were you
So
the
we're
one
gonna
who
start
said
off, y'all.
who was right about Ruby Soho before we get started? Who was right about that?
Oh, women business.
Yeah,
Women
they
business.
already. Yeah, so kick it
Women
off.
business. Okay, y'all. Don't women business. All men should stay out of women business, like she said. You gotta raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay, so we gonna get into it, y'all. We gonna start off with the opener of Dynamite and Collision of openers. Now this opener may be, well, it's not necessarily tough. On Dynamite, you had for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF versus Juice Robinson, and then on Collision, you had Jay White versus AR5. Dynamite, the opening for Dynamite, it was a little shaky for me, but it wasn't a bad match. Juice Robinson, like I said, I enjoy seeing Juice Robinson in the ring. He's one of those wrestlers. It determines, like it's really the opponent that makes it a great match with Juice Robinson. But it wasn't a bad match. It was a little bit shaky. Wasn't my particular favorite to be an opener because I really the Dynamite the Dynamite Diamond Ring is one of the things I never really kind of cared about in AEW. Like I did not care about this damn ring, but hey, it is what it is. So, what did you think about Dynamite's opener?
Yeah, the whole Dynamite Diamond Ring concept, it's just been all MJF, so there's not much to care about it. Um, him and Dante Martin had an okay match. Him and Orange Cassidy in the past had a okay match. And last year, famously, him and Ricky Starks, both the title and the ring were on the line. But we all know it never leaves MJF's side. That's his real finisher. It's not, the heat seeker. It's not the submission. It's hitting someone with the ring, putting it back in his trunks, the William Regal, brass knucks nod. So for this to be up for grabs, they were trying to tell a good story of Juice, of his TJ Maxx ring. That was kind of clever a little bit, and how he was just knocking people out since the whole quarters incident. But Juice already is someone who's supposed to have this powerful punch, and once he has MJF's ring, he'll be even more unstoppable. But the chemistry between the two was okay. You can see it was, like you said, a down match depending on Juice Robinson's opponent. We know he can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Omega, Naito when he was in New Japan. But sometimes when it's someone who's not necessarily on a higher caliber, I don't think he shines all that bright. His deficiencies kind of show. And MJF, we'll get to another match of his later on, and he'll kind of try when he wants to. It's a little bit of that load management that he does. And this was all about the storytelling more than the actual in-ring work. So there's not much to oversimplify besides the fact that they're telling the story of MJF versus the Bullet Club Gold, and the actual match itself didn't matter too much.
Right. Welcome everybody that's new to the chat. We are on the opener, so y'all didn't miss much. We're on Dynamite's opening. So we're gonna get into Collision's opening, which was Jay White and AR Fox. It was a great match between the two. I enjoyed it. They had me at the edge of my seat. It's Jay White and then AR Fox. He can speak for himself. So it was really good. I like seeing Jay White in fast style matches. He works best in those type of matches, in my opinion. And the dynamic was great. Their chemistry was great. Even though the little intrusions with the Bullet Club Gold and stuff like that, it didn't take away from the match entirely. I know people complain about that, but it's a heel thing. Like, he's a heel. That's what heels do, especially when they're in the game. So, but it didn't take away still from the match. What did you think about that match?
No, I agree. Since Jay White has come to AEW, he's faced a variety of opponents with different styles. AR Fox, Commander. He's facing the junior heavyweights that he really didn't face one-on-one while he was in New Japan. He would face those guys in the 3-man or the 4-man or the 5-man tags that, he would get the clean pin over to make himself look strong. But now he's facing these guys one-on-one because he wasn't facing Kushida or Takahashi when he was, elevated up after returning from his excursion. So it's nice to see him face against AR Fox. And you could tell Jay was trying some different stuff. There was that spot. Because, I like to talk about the actual match. I know people watched it, but like the ring psychology that Jay White has, like he tried that senton into the ring. AR Fox moved and then did a springboard of his own to get back at Jay. So Jay White's, filling himself out, trying to get, more in tune with what everyone else does, because he already wrestles a longer, slower style, not a boring style, because he wrestles with psychology. Like I said, the outside interference is meant to be a real true heel, where these guys are on the outside just to cause chaos, not to actually get involved, but just to get into the minds of the opponents. Because Jay White is a guy who has all the skill to win on his own. It's just that little bit of extra. It kind of got overrun with him and Geto in New Japan, where he relied on him too much. But at the end of the day, Jay White can go 50 minutes with Ibushi. He can go 30 minutes of Kenny Omega, and move for move, bar for bar with Okada numerous times. So it's great to see him do it on weekly television now. It's still weird seeing him in kind of shorter matches, because you can kind of tell he has the reserve to go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was an enjoyable match. I love seeing AR Fox. I'm glad that he signed this year. Just his moveset has always been a favorite of mine. And these are some big looks for him to face some of the bigger name opponents on the roster.
Yeah. Because he's also a coach as well for AEW.
Yeah, I know he's trying to split between his own school and helping people once he shows up. But I mean, he can still go in the ring, and that's something they always need. I always, and we'll talk about it later, I complain about how the jobbers just get squashed so easily when I'd rather guys have competitive matches. And someone like Eric
Mm-hmm.
Fox would do wonders against Wardlow or Hobbs in a competitive 6, 7 minute match compared to the 2 move matches those guys have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So if you're in the chat, y'all vote for the openers. You put your D's up if you are for MJF versus Juice Robinson, or put your C's up for Jay White and AR Fox.
but it
So
just goes
make
to
sure
show Bullet
y'all
Club Gold. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
No, it just goes to show that Bullet Club Gold is now running AEW in a way. They had 2 openers this week. It kind of starts with
Mm-hmm.
them. They're the fastest rising faction since the Elite is kind of on its pause period, not a down period. They're just pressing pause right now. They kind of restarted the summer in a way, and no other faction is kind of taken over except Bullet Club Gold. And we'll get to the Ass Boys later on and everyone else, but the crowd pops for Cardblade, and just all whenever they play all their themes, it always will start
Mm-hmm.
like with the Jay Whites, and then it'll play like the super bluesy accordion Jim song for Juice Robinson, and then it'll play the great generic Western for the Guns. But Bullet Club Gold is now the faction and a company built on factions, and normally that's been its strong suit, but lately it kind of hasn't been.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when we get to our main topic. Um, to go forward. Okay, so on Dynamite, it was the Warlow promo. He was saying his agenda, why he's going after MJF. And then also on Collision, following behind after the opener, which it was just like a squash match. It was the Guns versus the Boys, and the Boys, which is Dalton Castle's gang. He came out with them, and then he went on to the back. Um, Warlow's promo. Do you think they may have something for him this time? Do you think where it's starting off is legitimate?
So the Wardlow thing is part of the bigger MJF problem. And shout out to Lyra because she said exactly what I was about to say that night on Wednesday was that they are cramming every MJF loose end into one
Mm-hmm.
mega story. And he actually ties into the Guns versus the Boys because he shows up at the end and tries to steal back his belt in a very piss poor effort. Clearly, he doesn't know how to steal shit. Someone needs to teach him at his age to learn how to properly get his shit back, because if that's how you steal, just by walking up, exposing yourself, and then getting caught red-handed, like, come on, you're 26 now, like, you're too old to learn, but too dumb to try. So, but, but to circle back to the Wardlow thing, it's that thing of like he squashed MJF, Double or Nothing. MJF then cuts his pipe bomb, goes off into Exodus, not to be heard from until the All-In main event. Wardlow gets this push that was doomed from the start because the Scorpio Sky, I think he already botched that hand off the title of him, and he ended up getting it either way, but it was still shaky territory. And Wardlow has gone on his own exodus, and like he said, he didn't have an injury, he wasn't in any type of trouble, he was just sitting at home waiting, and he's seen MJF have all this glory this year, and it's pissed him off because he's owed something, because he was a guy that in a way
Mm-hmm.
kickstarted this. So there's kind of some
Yep.
resentment. I always thought they never should have broke the two up. They were always perfect together. I get the whole the manager has a change of heart and wants to be a good guy type, especially the muscle like Wardlow was. But their chemistry and their look just fit perfectly together. I always hate when things are forced to break up in wrestling just because the story says so.
Yeah.
But now him versus MJF one-on-one, I don't want to see it because it's just not going to deliver. It'll be MJ again. We'll get to MJF later, but like his Hulk Hogan routine, it's already played out. So it's going to be more played out when he has to try to do like the Andre Hogan WrestleMania 3 spot for the body slam when he's going to try to go and Wardlow's not going to budge. So it's setting Wardlow up for another L that he doesn't need to take right now. He doesn't need to be near the TNT title, that's for sure. But I know you and other people always say he needs to go to the other side, but he maybe should have just been in Ring of Honor this whole time, because they also need some bodies to refresh what they got going on there. So, but unfortunately, he'd be trapped in the Samoa Joe cycle where like Samoa Joe doesn't really need to be over there as much as he is, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh my God, don't start that either.
No, I'm just saying, like, at some point, Samoa Joe really needs to, like, be ROH or be AEW. They said, like, he was breaking the record for the longest television title reign. It's like he took 3 months off to go film Twisted Metal. Like, that reign, it's already fraudulent. We already have a lot of fraudulent reigns in AEW's history. MJF, FTR, we'll get to all those. But the Ring of Honor part's even just as bad because they were saying the Mogul Embassy was breaking the trios titles reigns. Like those guys never defended those titles, and now the Bucks got them,
It's
and they
trying to
had
bring the
no,
viewership to the
no,
thing,
I know,
to
but
the,
I'm saying like
where
let's,
you want to watch it.
but it's that thing like let's not praise something where it's like it's still they're barely giving it the attention they want to give it. I know he wants to give it a lot of attention and importance, but so far it hasn't been that way. I appreciate the people that do watch it because I've tried to tune in Ring of Honor a few times and I like what I see, but it's just when they force it onto AEW, not in a negative way, but like let's say that these titles are important. It's like the tag titles don't mean nothing because Adam Cole's gone now. That's already their big problem of MJF trying to defend him by himself. Just take them off him already. It's run its course.
Okay, so if you're in the chat, you put your D's or put your C's up, put your D's up if you enjoyed Warlow's promo. Put your C's up for the Guns or the Boys. We're not going to take too much long on those because they were like 5 minutes both. Okay.
Yeah, the Guns got
next up we got So next up on Dynamite we had Hook and RVD versus Alex Reynolds and John Silver of the Dark Order. And then also on Collision, you had the ROH TV title championship, Samoa Joe versus Titus. So on Dynamite, I love Dark Order. I really do. But I don't have to see them on TV. No shade. Okay. I don't have to see it on TV. It's good to see RVD. He's still in good shape. He still looks good in the ring for his age. So I always enjoy RVD. I'm a fan of RVD. And I'm also a fan of Hook. Hook has this new sexy look going. He's growing his hair and stuff like that. The ladies was tweeting about Hook. So it was overall it was a decent match for what it was. But I don't have to see Dark Order on TV. I feel like Dark Order could be on ROH. No shade though, not in a bad way. What do you think about it?
Well, you're the one saying that the Righteous need to be on AEW proper more than ROH, and I was like, no, we don't need to see those guys.
They do.
Dark Order,
do.
Alex Reynolds and John Silver are better wrestlers than the Righteous, so I'd rather see Dark Order.
I want the Righteous on TV.
To each their own. But that was what I was saying earlier about the lack of factions these days compared to when the company started. The Dark Order is just the three of them now, and it doesn't have the same weight that it once did. I'm not just saying because of Brody Lee passing, but when they had Stu Grayson back for that little bit just to set up that storyline in ROH, they haven't done a good job recruiting new members, and I don't know if that's their mission or not, but John Silver, I like John Silver a lot. I think on his own, he'd be a good wrestler against someone to give guys competitive matches, but I'm more worried again that Hook is in this limbo spot that he'll go into from time to time. It seems like they'll want to have something big planned for Hook and then stop after they have the initial idea. Like him and Danhausen was something that kind of looked good. And who knows if that would have led to a full-fledged tag team. And but Danhausen got injured. That's a whole other story. But Jack Perry versus Hook was a good segue for competitive Hook, storytelling Hook, and now he's just kind of hanging around the best friends, which is a good look for him. But what's next? Again, like you always say, the FTW title is just a prop. It doesn't hold any real weight. It's just something to, make him look a little bit extra and make him look like he matters in a way. But his look already makes him matter. Like you said, he's a good-looking guy. He can wrestle. He's young. So let's stop sticking him with RVD and all these other tag teams and have him face, Miro, have him face people that like put him through the ringer so he can know what it's like to take another L. Because Jack Perry did the right thing by like, oh, what happens when I face a guy who cheats to and fights dirty to win? Like, all right, now I know I gotta like bend the rules, or I gotta like go to that place, that dark place, to get what's mine. Now he just needs to face someone who's gonna kick his ass from the jump because they're bigger than him, stronger than him, they have more experience than him. So I like seeing RV. Like you said, he's still good for his age. As much as I shit on the elderly in wrestling for needing to go home, because they've had their time already.
Wow. Thank you, Ken, for still listening while you're on Raw. I know that's right.
No, I'm saying like, again, you get mad at me, but at some point, these men need to go home. Like RVD said, he's got a wife and he's got a wife and she's got a girlfriend. So just go home to that. You don't need to come out here and do 5-star frog splashes at your age. I get you. He is a wife and her girlfriend is fun. He doesn't need to come out to the ring and do this.
Oh my god!
But the Rhett Titus Samoa Joe, I just spoke on the Samoa Joe TV title reign again. That was a lot of these two spots were just the kind of the worst examples of like AEW filler. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's on the show to kill time because they don't want to give something else extra time, but they cram stuff in at the last minute. You were saying it all last week on Twitter that apparently no one loves the Dark Order because they tuned out after the first 40 minutes of Dynamite. Because apparently once they saw the Dark Order, they would just click. So that sucks for them, unfortunately. That they
I pay the $5. Like, people rather watch the Timberwolves than to watch Dark Order. As soon as they popped up, that shit went like.
Well, that was the thing, or the argument of like, oh, why the opening didn't do so well. The opening of Dynamite, Celtics Knicks went to halftime probably 10 minutes into the opening of Dynamite. And let's not forget, MJF cut a whole promo at the opening of Dynamite that took 2 minutes. They had 2 minutes of entrances. It had a low rating compared to the week before when Jay White and Penta did a mill at the jump. And sure, they could say, well, they didn't have the NBA to go up against. Well, MJF had the perfect leeway. Celtics 6 went to halftime, and no one tuned in to the numbers that they did for Jay White and Penta the week prior with no competition. So that's a whole nother debate. But yeah, the NBA is back. That's gonna cause a problem on Wednesday nights, especially when it's big time teams facing each other. But you have that small window to hook them in right away. They were saying MJF is opening Dynamite this week from the jump, and everyone's trying like, I'll see this, and then I won't want to watch everything else. But they didn't announce Jay White and Penta was going to open the show like that. And that whole show was strong from beginning to end because it went from Shida to Sakura, Omega and Fletcher, all the way through. That was a strong showing compared to this week's Dynamite, which is just downhill after the first 40 minutes. So, yeah. It sucks for the Dark Order, again, because they try, but...
They could, the momentum got back when Adam Page joined them, but then when Adam Page was like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, that's, at that time, I wasn't too big of a fan of that story, but it was good storytelling in terms of, like, he needed some friends, and they were the friends that, like they said when they had their feud, like, we were there when you needed us, when these guys ditched you. Now they have nothing to do, and they're trying to go back to being the evil Dark Order, where it's like, I think you kind of need some more people to be evil. I don't know who's lying around these days that they can have to.
Matt Hardy. They can get Matt Hardy.
No, because I'm tired of fucking seeing Matt Hardy. Fuck. Like, God.
Say it like that. What's wrong with Matt Hardy?
Everything's wrong with Matt Hardy.
They can get Edge.
Well, he ain't doing shit. They might as well, because he's not doing what he thought he was going to do. So we'll get to that when that promo happens. So what's up? You're the host. Give us our next segment, please.
Yeah. So if you're in the chat, just put your D's for Hook and RVD, or put your C's for Alex Reynolds. Samoa Joe. Hold on, y'all.
No, AJ, the Butcher and Blade and Kip Sabian are better off on their own. They don't need to be grouped in the Dark Order. They're better off on their own.
Wait a minute. Kip Sabian, hold on. I kind of like that.
No, because when we get to that Kip Sabian promo, don't get me started.
Oh my. Okay. So yeah, put your C's and put your D's up for that, and I'm gonna keep count. Next up on Dynamite, Tony Khan had a surprise for Sting. We welcomed Ric Flair, and he was welcomed in by Christian. This is a segment by itself because I didn't have nothing to pair it with on Collision. So we have this. I didn't care to see Ric Flair. I understood it because that's Sting, buddy. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what people feel about him, that's still his buddy old pal. So,
I guess this
but
is like
Christian,
D Wade. Oh, good.
I don't know what you was about to say.
No, I was like, Ric Flair coming out to Sting is like, I guess D Wade going to games and still seeing LeBron playing. Like, damn, you're still doing it. Good for you.
Yeah,
Like, I wish I could. But yeah, I can't. That's what it was. And Christian, first of all, this segment went on way too long. Just
it's Ric
ate up.
Flair. They had to.
No, even Christian went way too long. The whole thing went on way too long. As much as I love Christian, I know you're a peeper. I know everyone loves Christian pretty much. I don't need him to have 16 bars of, dead people jokes. Like,
He can have whatever he wants. He
no,
can
because
have
he
whatever he
flubs
wants.
the first three every week. He'll come out and be like, and then I'll tell you, like, he's forgetting the line, and it's like, come on, Christian. Like, he had said Ric Flair was supposed to die 20 years ago. I'm like, Ric Flair was supposed to die 60 years ago in a plane crash. This man survived a plane crash in his 30s. Like, come on. Ric Flair's not going to stand for your "you should be dead" jokes. Yeah, he knows it because he survived a fucking plane crash. Who does that and wrestles and has a better career after it? Imagine being the GOAT after having a fucking plane crash. And Christian wants to come out and make
And
"you should
we
be dead
enjoyed
already,"
it.
Rick.
And
No,
we
everyone
enjoyed it.
everyone
And
should
we thought
agree
it
that
was
this was the
funny.
weakest example of,
Thank you.
Christian,
Let
with his
Christian
cheap
cook.
heat. He's cooked
Let
better. He's cooked way better than this with harder ways to go up against it. The Ric Flair was like the easiest low-hanging fruit, and it just didn't hit for me. And the Sting
Oh
stuff
my god!
but the Sting stuff last week and this week with the shout outs to like Lex Luger and Hogan and being on the road, like, you can tell, like, this is Steve Borden talking. This isn't Sting talking anymore. This is Steve Borden, the man, just saying how happy he is that he's finally gonna be done with this business because he's already done what he wants to do. Like, you spoke on it last week, and I
He
always say
said
it.
thank you Hulk Hogan, and the fans booed, and he was like, okay, all right, like somebody's.
He's like, I get it, I get
all
it, I
right,
get
all
it.
right.
Like, Sting knows. He's like, he's not a good guy, but he's a guy I know. Okay, it was like, we all have a friend. We're like, I mean, I know they're not a good person, but I mean, hey, that's my cousin you're talking about. Okay, like,
Like,
but
all right.
yeah, but I mean, this segued into the Adam Copeland backstage segment after all this. And when he just whined like a bitch, and Sting had to tell him that, like, why are you crying? Like, it's like that scene in the Godfather when he's like, is this how you're supposed to be? A man who whines like a woman? And he smacks him. He's like, like, be a man! Like, because Edge is there with his same old bullshit every week. Like, yeah. Sting's like, listen, I've been to places where my friends have been the bad guy. Like, come on. It was just so bad because the Adam Copeland part of it was so bad. Sting made that segment worth watching, but Adam Copeland had the horrible segment last week of him and Renee where he had to tell the story of him and Christian again. Like, they never had a podcast for 3 years or whatever. Like, we don't know their fucking story already, or story, depending on how, his Canadian accent wants to say it. But I mean, is it really going to gear up where Christian and his crew face Sting, Adam Copeland, and Darby Allin? I don't know. But at
He don't
The Adam
belong
Copeland
here.
thing was not going to go off good when it was announced. Excuse me, and it's not going good now. Again, that match with Luchasaurus was horrendous, and these promos in back-to-back weeks have been abominable. And I'm not shocked because this is a selfish
I tried to tell
motherfucker
everybody.
who should have not come
I
back
tried
3 years
to tell
ago.
everybody.
Yeah,
I tried to tell everybody.
he,
I tried to
no
tell.
one
I sat
again.
here and tried to tell everybody.
He is the rated R superstar. Why is he crying? My friend doesn't want to retire with me, this is the guy who's supposed to be rated R. No,
Cause
a
he
rated R
ain't him.
superstar.
And I've been trying to tell everybody that.
It's just horrendous, and it's gonna get even worse when he wants to, or when he'll try to have actual matches. Because that match of him and Luchasaurus wasn't a match.
Shout out to Luchasaurus. That's my dinosaur.
But Ric Flair, I mean, do we?
We gonna
There was a thing like no, with the thing with Ric Flair, they say he might be sticking around, and I'm like, do we
yeah, they
need
said
him?
like for up until like until
Yeah,
Revolution.
I mean,
Cause he
as
still
much as
under
I
that
love Ric Flair,
WWE contract.
yeah, as much as I love Ric Flair, I don't want to keep seeing Ric Flair every week. No.
Nobody does, but blame Offset. I was just listening to that song too. Um, let's move on because I don't want to take too much time because we still got a lot to cover. So on Dynamite, it was for the ROH six-man tag titles. The Hardy Boys versus the Hung Bucks, and then on Collision, it was Ricky Starks versus Dax Hartwood. Dynamite. So this match it wasn't needed, but I get it because the Bucks love Hardy Boys and they want to do whatever is possible to make sure that they have when they run off to the sunset together that they have they matches and things like that. Um, I love seeing Adam Page on the screen. He could do whatever he wants.
Wow. Okay.
It's Adam Page. And then on Collision, it was Ricky Starks versus Dax Harwood. So, what did you think about Dynamite?
So I don't like either of these matches because again, I don't like when the Hardys come on my TV. I just tune out. I can't watch Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy in 2023. I couldn't watch them last year. I couldn't watch them in 2017 when they came back. I could have barely watched them. So when the Hardys show up, I tune out. I've talked about you with about Brother Zay. I enjoy him as a wrestler. I can't wait till Mark Quinn gets back and hopefully Private Party can go after the tag titles like they should have been doing. But I enjoy seeing Brother Zay wrestle. He does some great high spots. He's trying to play to the crowd a little bit more, try to get some of that, character work in because it's been very up and down with the Hardys mentorship when they had the Andrade part of the story and now with, him becoming Brother Zay. It's all been mixed to me, but I still believe in Private Party as a team and hope to see Mark Quinn back soon so he doesn't have to continue to be the guy who takes falls and Hardy Boy matches. And the Bucks, like you said, they're on their load management period. They still want to wrestle, but they want to not overwork themselves in moments like this because they have bigger things planned. I mean, or had. We'll get to that a little bit later with what they had planned. Which leads to the one-on-one match between Dax Harwood, who, as a one-on-one wrestler, fooled everyone last year. He faced Cash Wheeler. Those guys have been wanting to wrestle one-on-one for years, so it makes sense that they tried their hardest. Again, that was a match that had all the Bret Hart callbacks or whatever. And then the CM Punk match, too, which I had said I thought that was a good match despite not liking Dax Harwood and despite the Bret Hart callbacks. But that was one of the few matches where CM Punk looked good in his series of matches because at that point in time, he wasn't looking that good in the ring. He was looking good when he first showed up. Those first 10 CM Punk matches, he was looking good. But there was a point kind of around the end of the MJF feud setting up Hangman Page where CM Punk was not looking like a guy they should put the title on. His matches with Dustin Rhodes, his matches with Penta, and
All
that
the matches.
Dax Harwood match was made to make him look better than he was at the time. So to see Dax Harwood one on one, it's always like a because then he faced Will Ospreay, and come on, let's not act like Dax Harwood held his own against best in the fucking world Will Ospreay last year when Dax Harwood tries to do his fucking big Haas routine and out power slap Will Ospreay because that's what he tries to do with everyone to show he's a fucking man wrestler. He's just gonna chop guys and show that he can do this shit because that's how they did it back in the day. But him versus Ricky Starks, you can see the deficiencies of both. Because like, as someone who likes Ricky Starks and as someone who doesn't, being you, this was not a good showing for
I didn't.
either.
I never said I didn't.
You
I
should,
never
because I'm
said I
going to
did.
say it later that people just need to say who they like and don't like. If you have a podcast, you don't need to lie.
I don't have. I never
You
said I
don't
didn't like
need to
him. I just
lie
said
to the audience.
I did not.
Just
I
say your
never said
truth.
that.
You have a platform for a reason. Don't worry about who you offend. Again, I don't fucking care for Dax Harwood. I think he's trash. He gave Ricky Starks a pile driver. This is a guy who's had a bad neck, a guy who almost lost his career and almost had to get neck surgery because of a neck injury. And Dax Harwood gives him the worst looking pile driver I've seen. He didn't tuck the head in between his legs. I know he tried to take the brunt of it all himself with like just his legs hitting the ground. But even Ricky Starks bunching his neck against Dax Harwood thighs, like, why attempt a pile driver with a guy who's known to have a bad neck? He didn't get surgery because he said he didn't want to be out that long. He was doing a natural healing process. That's why he was out those 6-7 months for 2021 going into 22. So to attempt a pile, like, what kind? And they want to call themselves safe workers and be the fucking pride and joy vets that they never had, blah, blah, blah. Who does shit like that? And then Ricky Starks ends the match with a pile driver just abruptly. I'm like, who booked this bullshit? Probably FTR, because they've been booking all their bullshit for the past 2 years as well.
We gotta get into that later. Don't start.
No, I'm saying, but like this was a bad show. Like Ricky Starks as a singles wrestler, he started off the year very strong. I thought him and Jericho had good matches considering Jericho's, age, like his age. Oh, okay. He'll look his age. No, Jericho will look his age at times, but then also look like a guy who's fighting Father Time in a good way. And Ricky Starks and Jericho had better chemistry than Jericho did with Adam Cole. Unfortunately, Adam Cole was battling back from his injury, but Ricky Starks and Jericho had actually really good chemistry in the ring as well as on the mic. The first Jay White Ricky Starks match was really good. Again, I'm not reaping all the praise on Jay White as much as I'm a Jay White fan. Ricky Starks shined in that match just as well. But since then, Ricky Starks had taken, a nosedive in a way while even winning the Owen Cup tournament because a lot of those matches were not good matches that he won. Him and Juice was not good. Him and Hallows was not good. And both CM Punk matches were not good. But granted, CM Punk kind of had any. I enjoyed that Wheeler Yuta match. I said I was in the minority that I enjoyed that match at Wrestle Dream. I thought that was the best he had looked since that Jay White match. But let's not act like Dax Harwood is meant to be a singles wrestler as well. He needs Cash Wheeler just as much as Cash Wheeler needs him because I don't want to see Dax Harwood wrestle one-on-one matches. So it's a short way of saying these matches were the middle parts of most of both shows were kind of dead to me this week. They were very like, let's get to the main event already because they had big main events planned.
Yeah, because even they both all had segments on both of these Dynamites after the 6-man tag Swerve intruded in Adam Page's home, put a shirt on his back, but don't start yet.
I didn't watch that segment, so you have to talk about it. So,
oh, okay. Well, he broke into Adam Page's home. He ate some no, that was what's the name? Ate some berries.
Prince Nana.
Put a shirt over, put one of his merches on Adam Page's baby and stuff like that. So you had that. Of course, they're gonna lead to a part 2 of their match, Adam Page versus Swerve soon. So part 2. So
yeah,
you
which
have
will most
that.
likely be Adam Texas Death Match in LA. I imagine.
Probably, but what had me laughing was Adam Page walking out of the ring like you about to go to
To your
you
house
better
in
go to
Virginia,
Virginia.
yeah, West Virginia. Yeah, I mean,
You
he
may
gets
or
on
may
his horse and goes, "Yeah,
not.
giddy up." I mean,
Giddy up,
you have
hey.
kids. If your kids are in trouble, you're gonna fly your way there somehow. Off the strength of parent strength. So
Yep.
again,
And I'm
Adam Page
telling
is gonna
you,
get on his trusty steed and be
I
like,
will fly the
right.
plane myself.
Adam, Adam
I will
Page got
fly the
on.
plane myself.
He got on his horse and said, "Ride like the wind, bullseye!" Like, and got after him. But
Boo, no.
and then yeah, the end of the collision match. Well, first of all, it started with House of Black arriving before the match kicked off. They were just watching from the
Mm-hmm.
stairs in the crowd, like a couple of goth kids, like the goth kids from South Park, just sitting on the steps, being like, "Pain."
And when
Ugh.
I'm smoking that cigarette, flipping his
Yeah.
glasses. We're not goth.
The kid with the little voice. I think we should. So they were watching Ricky
We're not.
Starks and Dax Harwood try to have a match, while Big Bill and Cash Wheeler interfered in this match as well. And poor Big Bill, he's finally getting his chance to shine, and he's having to do it against FTR. Like, this guy can't catch a break. But the match ends, and then this shows, we'll get to it again later, but the messiness of what FTR has done. LFI shows up for no reason. We didn't need them right here, right now, but they show up. Roosh, Jarlistico, and Preston Vance show up and just, attack everyone. And then we have a brawl and you can tell, like, Dax Harwood didn't know who to punch. Well, whose fault's that? Like, it was messy.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, it was messy, but I know what they're trying to do. It's not going to work. But yeah.
You don't know that yet. You do not know that yet. We have to see for ourselves.
I'm saying it's not going to work because the way they did the tactile changes didn't work. Because Mr. Oh, my ribs, even though they're not really hurt, I still need But yeah, again, back to back, like just the middle of the show. No,
it was crazy. But if you in the chat, put your D's or put your C's. Put your D's for the ROH 6-man tag titles, or put your C's for Ricky Starks and Dax Harwood. On Collision, it was a squash. Well, Claudio had like a squash match. It was versus Tracy Williams. This is before we get into our main events on both shows. So just have to say that one. You don't have to count that.
Well, so the main event for both match. Yeah, because they played the clip before of the press conference, right? Of him and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy said, "I'm wearing a suit." What?
I was about to get to that.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so main event, it was Dynamite, Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson and Claudio versus Orange Cassidy and Okada. And then on Collision, it was AEW World Championship. It was MJF versus Kenny Omega. So I liked both. It's going to be hard.
Why is it hard? What did you like about both?
Collision, Kenny Omega, and Dynamite, everybody.
That is true. The Dynamite main event had 4 of the best wrestlers in the world at times. I mean, Claudio, Bryan Danielson, Okada. Again, still weird seeing Okada wrestle on American television. And Orange Cassidy. The team of Orange Reign is Orange Cassidy and Okada. They had some good, like when Orange Cassidy said, like, "No, I want to start the match," to Okada, and Okada's like, "Oh, okay." So it was good to see them interact because, again, Chaos and Best Friends kind of have this, mutual connection in a way through Rocky Romero and Trent. So I like that anytime Okada's kind of an unofficial best friend. Even though he's more of a member of the Elite based off him stealing Nick Jackson's gear in the BTE segments, which is always hilarious to see that he loves putting on Nick Jackson's gear. But yeah, it was great to see a tag match that was just filled with the talents of the individuals. This wasn't great tag team wrestling and like what you think tag team wrestling should be. It was just 4 great individual wrestlers having a good tag team match. They each got their moments to shine. especially Claudio with the way he was doing the giant swing on Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy just like almost didn't know what to do with his hands. He was kind of holding his hands at his head and then putting them back. He was just like, this is, and he could have swung Orange Cassidy until the next day because he only weighs what I weigh. So like he was going to spin him until Claudio like just passed out. So that would have been amazing to see. In the finish with the orange punch and the Rainmaker, which apparently broke Danielson's face, which Okada must really hate Bryan Danielson for whatever reason, because this is back-to-back matches. You had pointed out during the summer that he broke this man's arm, probably not on purpose, but it just goes to show that Okada is like, you step in the ring with me, you don't leave the same. And who knows, again, maybe it's even from the orange punch.
And then he mocked him after the match.
That was the best part. Him being like, oh, my arm, oh, and then my face, oh. It's like, Okada's a dickhead. Like, I mean, we've already, that's not a surprise, because if you've seen Okada, a lot of them this year in New Japan, he's been a dickhead to Shota Umino, a lot of the younger boys, the young lions who have, since taken their elevation and become, proper wrestlers, but he's bullied those guys and just been a real like dickhead. But Okada's like the guy who's like, I've fucking been champion. I've won Super Bowls. Don't fucking talk shit to me, whippersnappers. He's Tom Brady telling all the guys like Josh Allen to sit down. Like, you don't know what it's like to play in the cold. You know what it's like to play with a concussion. Come to me when you have main event after main event in the Tokyo Dome, whippersnappers. Like, you keep wanting me to go home. Why am I still here? And it's painful to see Okada again at a slower rate. Age is catching up with him. Unfortunately, the injuries are catching up with him. His knees are getting shot. Yeah. But I still love seeing him because for 2-3 years, he was the best wrestler in the world with no competition. Like, he could have wrestled anyone and it would have been.
That face-off was crazy, too. Between, like, the shot between Danielson and Okada, like, when they was tagging.
Oh, yeah. Even hit Claudio and Okada, too, because they kind of had that interaction earlier this year. Like, them going toe-to-toe, because they're both tall guys and kind of built in the same way. So, like, I wouldn't mind, like, that's what I was alluding to earlier. Cesaro, I'm Jim Ross, not calling him Cesaro. Claudio had said, Okada, Claudio was like, I want to face you, Okada. Like, it doesn't matter if it's here or in Japan, I'm going to get you. Like, and he's already getting his match with Orange Cassidy, and that's what I alluded to earlier, Orange Cassidy wearing a suit to the press conference just to say I can wear a suit better than you. Like, and this is the evil Orange Cassidy taking shape. This is the money, the power, the hose Orange Cassidy who just wants it all. Like, he had his title, lost it, now he wants it back. And he's like, yeah, it's, absolute power corrupts. And maybe he broke Bryan Danielson's face on purpose just to show the power of what a punch can do. Like you said it last week. My favorite thing last week was that he, shoulder checked John Moxley to be like, sup, bitch. And then John Moxley, mushed him, and Orange Cassidy stood there like, I ain't running. I'm right here. I ain't going anywhere. You made me bleed. All right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Orange Cassidy and his descent into madness, which I'm always a fan of. The good man who becomes corrupt.
Let's get
and Kenny Omega.
Go ahead.
Well, on one hand, you can see just how much Kenny Omega means to wrestlers who shit on Kenny Omega, meaning MJF. Mm-hmm. So MJF, who shits on high spot wrestlers, he said, why is Vikingo so high in the PWI? No one watches his matches. They just see clips of him on YouTube. Meanwhile, MJF tries a fucking Frosberry flop to the outside of the ring and almost breaks his fucking neck. Could have paralyzed himself. But, when you wrestle Kenny Omega, you got to try high spots, even though you shit on high spot wrestling. Mm-hmm. So we already have the walking hypocrite that is MJF against Kenny Omega, because he knows if he didn't deliver against Kenny Omega, whose fault is that? Because Kenny Omega, again, is one of the few people who can have a match with a broomstick and it still turned out good, because this man had a match with an 11-year-old girl and blow-up dolls. So I don't see MJF having good matches with either of those. So MJF had to step up his level just to show he can hang with the likes of Kenny Omega. And he did and didn't in a way. Like I said, him trying to Fosbury flop and almost paralyzing himself. Like he almost broke his hand earlier this year in the Four Pillars Fatal 4-Way when he tried the Candido Bomb with Darby Allin and he hit the mat and screamed like, my hand. It goes to show like this guy who shits on high spot wrestling. Whenever he tries a high spot, he can't fucking do it himself. So, like you always say, stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to, because this guy who is all about entertainment wrestling with his kangaroo kicks and his "do you want to see me do a body slam" can't do shit that everyone else says. And that's why he says, like, that's why he says, well, guys like Vikingo shouldn't be considered great wrestlers because they do spots. Vikingo almost broke his neck with the match against Kenny Omega when he did his 630 to the outside. He hit his head on the apron after doing a 630 to a man on a table. So don't act like everyone can do this shit. It's that simple. And Kenny Omega, again, he's had a long year since coming back, and you're kind of seeing him slow back down in a way where, like, I'm going to need some time off after he had a year. No one, as much as I shat on him during his belt collector, as you say, reign, I can't say that about him. I can't say that about him this year because he has been fully healthy, but you are seeing, as you said last week, the wear and tear of a man who is 40 years old and doesn't want to get injured again, because that means he'll have to hang it up. And he did a combination of technical wrestling, which MJF thinks he can excel at, just like Triple H thought he could excel at. They did high spot wrestling because Kenny Omega is an Attitude Era student. He loves the Attitude Era, so he has to put a table spot in a regular match because Kenny Omega's like, you got to give the people what they want, and they want stunts, damn it. So he, powerbombed him to the table on the outside. And, he forced MJF to try to go strong style at the end with, kick out, last second kick outs and this and all that. And MJF wins clean. MJF did the slowest moving Canadian destroyer I've ever seen when he went up to the top turnbuckle and did the Panama Sunrise. It took, I don't know if it was on Kenny Omega, but that flip for the Canadian destroyer took so long. I was like, are they still going? But it was a good match, not a great match, because one guy wasn't up to the caliber.
It was a great match.
The one guy wasn't up to the caliber of a dude who, at his age, is still going out there and doing it better than most guys can. And he's, again, deteriorating slowly, and that's Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had two of the best matches, probably the two best matches this year. And that wasn't all Will Ospreay, as I was saying earlier. That was the both of them. But a lot of this match
Y'all have to excuse Davis. He likes what he likes.
No, a lot of this match was Kenny Omega. And it was a Kenny Omega clinic of like, all right, let me show y'all I can still do this. And again, he's looking like he wants some rest so he can come back and keep doing it because he doesn't want to get injured. But MJF trying to do shit he shouldn't do and try to hold his own against a guy who wrestles like that. I mean, MJF has slow matches on the regular. Kenny Omega has slow matches so he can preserve himself. There's a difference between the two. So it was a good match. I'd say it narrowly beats the Dynamite main event for me.
Well, we'll see what the chat decides. If you're in the chat for the main event, put your D's, or if you like Collision's main event, put your C's. These C's. All right, so we're gonna move on to Rampage. We're not going to talk about this too much because I do not want to run out of time on a time limit here. Rampage, it opened up with Mike Santana versus Ortiz. Very personal match. It was really personal. Nobody was waiting on spots or nothing.
No.
It was just going. Ortiz is a better man. Ortiz knew how much it would mean to Santana. So, Ortiz was generous with this match.
Well, not just that, but you can, for some reason, Tony Khan has picked Santana to go with. I guess because it's the comeback story, or it's a story easier to tell. So it seems like Santana is the chosen one of the two for now. I think everyone who watches the two of them knows Ortiz is the star. So in the long run,
Ortiz is good. Himself, he just wants to get paid. So I mean, it's
I know.
Santana.
No, but I mean, like, we all know in the long run, Ortiz is going to be fine because Ortiz has the talent to sustain himself. He's extremely likable. One of the few New Yorkers I like. He has the talent in the ring. Santana is the trickier one to like. Let's see if this guy has anything to root for. Because as of right now, for me, and I know for you, like it's not easy to root for this guy based off how he was talking online, how he was talking on TV, and how he's been wrestling. Especially with the way this match ended, where he almost just blatantly drops him again too close on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I had talked about how I thought this was going to be a match to set up a match like this. Instead, they just went straight for the stipulation bad blood match to get it over with. I don't blame them because they don't need to prolong this. Let's not forget, they've had stories like this in the past. Yeah. Well, they've had stories like this in the past where there's real life tension. Like they had Kip Sabian and Joey Janela because of the Penelope Ford thing, and they put that on Dark a lot of the time. And that was a real kind of like bad blood story with some actual real life ramifications, but they rarely get into this area where they force people to work with each other. It's not like Edge and Matt Hardy and other numerous, Brett and Shawn, other instances in wrestling history where people who don't like each other have had to do it for the sake of the business. But at least they had the match. I know everyone said like they wasted it. It should have been on a pay-per-view, but if you're not, they're making you tune. I've always said this. They're trying to make you tune into Rampage every week. If you want to see these two guys wrestle, you don't have to buy the pay-per-view. You already have the fucking channel. Just watch it. That's on you if you don't want to watch it because it's not on a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. You're the one who's setting these guys up to fail by not tuning in. So, but again, it was even though I didn't like how vicious it was just because it seemed personal, it was a good hard-hitting match in that way. Like this was one of those few, like, this is why we don't do stipulation matches because guys can take it too far. Like,
yeah, they took it. Yeah, it got ugly. So we're gonna move on because it's Rampage. I don't take too much time on Rampage unless it's women business. Next up, it was Kip Sabian was on the mic. Shout out to the Kip Sabian gang. We're here. He was attacked by Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe's returned to AEW, so that happened. What you shaking your head at Kip Sabian? What's the
because I like Kip Sabian. I just don't like the generic cheap heat promos. I always get tired of like your sport team sucks. Like he had some good. I know you enjoyed the shots at the Eagles. Like like you'll have another chance at the Super Bowl because you didn't win this year type stuff, or the joke about the Phillies and the James Harden jokes. I do like Kip Sabian. Because I like him and the Butcher and the Blade together. I like that trio. And I've been saying that they should be the trios champions at some point. But just the promo itself, I wasn't a fan of. But it's good to see Mark Briscoe back, considering the year he's had. And he was playing for a lot until he had this injury that sidelined him. It seemed like he was either going to be ROH television champ or going for the ROH world title. So it's good to just see him back. And then just seeing his presence and energy. He's a guy who's funny on his own and then funny on purpose. So I love seeing Mark Briscoe back and good for him.
Yeah. And then next up after that, I know it was one of your favorites. It was Kyle Fletcher versus the Soup King. Great match. I did enjoy this match. They was cooking.
Both of my guys.
Young ones they was cooking. That's the future.
Well, all of last year I said Takeshi. Yeah, that was the thing. When I first saw him, I didn't expect him to be that tall, but especially when you see like the other guys in United Empire, how they're all short, because he is, I think, the tallest guy in the United Empire. But no, last year I had said Takeshita was Giannis. He was going to be AEW's Giannis. He had all the raw athletic talent. He was just going to have to figure out a personality, and the alpha thing is slowly working. But it's his strength at the end of the day is always going to be wrestling, because no one can wrestle strong style, athletic style like him, technical style, except Kyle Fletcher apparently. Because I never really saw much of Aussie Open. It was a name I always saw, but I didn't actually see the matches until I started watching a few. And when Will Ospreay himself said this guy is going to be the future of the business, I was like, him? And you kind of seen it within the last 4 weeks or so. Most of wrestling Twitter is kind of buying the same thing, and I'm buying it now too. I was just surprised at Will Ospreay. I'm like, you think this guy? Like, but I can see why. And
He's only
They had a great
24.
back and yeah, and they had a great back and forth match too. Each guy got to shine and show what they can do, and this is like a potential title match in AEW 2 years from now, hopefully, where these guys are going at it with a title on the line. But the way the match ended, or the way Rampage itself ended, with Kyle Fletcher finally showing that hate, as Don Callis said, he's like, I want to see that hate. Show it to me. You know, like a Darth Sidious father figure to him. Like, that's it. The look in your eye. I've said to you, like, Don Fletcher is kind of this pimp. He's going around collecting all these good looking young guys and being like, look at my good looking young men, my strapping young men I have in my family. It's like, I got Takeshka, I got Hobbs, I got Sammy, I got, Kyle Fletcher now. He's like, look at my good looking boys.
Sammy was not good looking. We said what he looked like.
But he's trying to make Kyle Fletcher his number one boy. Like at the end of Succession season 1, it's like, you're my number one boy. Like, that's what he wants Kyle Fletcher to be, since he doesn't have a Kenny Omega. He doesn't have a Jericho. But I've known this the whole time. And you're saying it's really clicking with you now, the Will Ospreay part of the story, where Will Ospreay technically is a member of the Don Callis family in a way. But when Kyle Fletcher, I think, will have to choose between United Empire, Will Ospreay, and Don Callis' family, that'll be the real conundrum between the two, especially when Will Ospreay signs to AEW, because I think he'll pick them over re-signing with New Japan and over signing with WWE, based off the amount of time he's been spending in AEW over the last year. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, when they have their match to show that Kyle Fletcher can stand on his own and lead this Don Callis family, that'll be something to see. And Don Callis, as much as I kind of get annoyed by Don Callis, I loved him at the end of that segment, because he hits Hobbs with the steel chair, and Hobbs is like, I'm gonna kill this guy, and it's like, no, leave him. He's my son. Like, just the way he'll. I love how Don Callis will just glom onto someone new and be like, I love this guy, like when he did it to Will Ospreay at the Forbidden Door match. When
this kid, oh my god,
yeah, when Kenny Omega's about to say, I was like, no, leave him. I love this kid. I've loved him. I love him. Like, so you just met the guy
met you
2 hours
today.
ago. Yeah. He's good at overselling. Yeah, he's good at overselling stuff like that. But yeah, Fletcher and Takeshka, it's not much we can say, except like, this is that real wrestling that people have seen, that what AEW is built for. Again, at the end of the day, that's what AEW stands for, is wrestling like Kyle Fletcher and Takeshka.
All right, so let's get into women business time. Women business.
This is what you need to do. You need to stay out of women business.
All right, y'all. Women business time. If you have something to say, raise your hand, okay? That's if I feel like calling on you. He goes away. Okay, so women business. Dynamite. It started out with the AEW Women's Championship. The champion Shida versus Ruby Soho. I did not like this match. It wasn't because of Shida, but Ruby Soho slowed this match all the way down. I don't know what's going on with you. But you wasn't there. You wasn't there at all. And Shida did the best that she could with you. The whole spray paint spot, I don't know. I just don't know. The communication wasn't there. So I didn't like this match at all. It could have been better, but I still love you, Shida F baby. Please say the baby. That's my girl. So shout out to Shida. Also on women business, we had Rampage. The winner gets a shot at the AEW Women's Championship at Collision. It was Sky Blue versus Willow Nightingale versus Anna Jay versus Abandon, the Halloween Queen. Great. And now this was a great match. It was very fun, very entertaining. It was great to see Anna Jay. Anna Jay is so beautiful. All these young ladies is beautiful, including the zombie lady. Just beautiful. Great match between the four. Anna Jay had me laughing when she saw Bannon, like, get away from me or whatever. Sky Blue is becoming even more dark. She was actually, her and Abandon face off. It was interesting. They was doing the whole Michael Myers shit and stuff like this. So Abandon ended up winning. Of course, I knew that was going to happen because it's Halloween season and she is booked every Halloween. But I would love to see Abandon booked more because she is a great wrestler. I know she scares the kid audience audiences and stuff like that, but they just going to have to get over that shit and deal with it, okay? Book abandoned even more on the women's division. We need somebody like her in the division. She's very unique. Oh, not she. I'm sorry. They, them. Let me respect the pronouns. I'm sorry. They, them. Book they, them more. We want to see more they, them in AEW on the TV. So, my bad. They, them. Let me respect the pronouns. I am so sorry. Abandon is they, them. So I want to see more of they, them on TV. Don't laugh at me, y'all. Um, Also on Collision, like I said, it was for the Fright Night Fight AEW Women's Championship. It was Sheeta versus Abandon. Uh, Entertaining, Abandon came out as Spawn. They them had the Spawn robe and stuff like that. And then Sheeta, Sheeta was cosplayed as Adam Wong for shit, the night what's that game? The zombie game. You gamers know who that is. But she wrestled in a dress, very lovely. Now, this match for Sheeta was better than Dynamite's match. Because Abandon, it was an entertaining match, but they was able to keep up with one another. I enjoyed it. So like I said, I want to see more of they, them on TV. Okay. And then you had Tony Storm, she's stressing out married men. Tony Storm came out there, she pulled out an orange from her butt or whatever, and stressing the guys out. Everybody was stressed. Look at him. Look, Tony Schiavone is stressed. Like, he's like, Lord have mercy. He's turning red. So yeah, Tony Storm went out there and she was giving hips, she was giving booty, she was giving legs, beauty, shout out to Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm. And then we had another segment also. It was Chris Statlander and Sky Blue. It's still tension between her and Sky Blue. Willow was there giving her promo. Willow just letting them know that you letting this mist turn you dark. Sky Blue still having an attitude or whatever. So it's getting tension between them. I feel like it's probably going to lead to Sky Blue versus Chris Statlander for the TBS Women's Championship eventually down the road, because the tension is brewing. And then Julia Hart is back, so maybe they would do something with that, since Sky Blue has been wearing the same type of dark makeup as Julia Hart. So we have that. And Women Business of the Week, I'm going to give it to Abandon. Abandon was she was great. Well, they them was great. This week, Halloween belongs to Abandon, Halloween season, and they them deserve it. So that is my Women's Business of the Week. Now we can get into the main topic, y'all. So y'all know the title of this show is like a mockery of what Hulk Hogan, that doesn't work for me, brother. Same scenario. We've been talking about it early on in the episode with FTR. Let me pull it up so I can read it out loud to y'all, to tell y'all what I'm talking about. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, so it came out a little bit this week, actually. FTR had it was on what's it? What's the abbreviation for? Is it Wrestling Observer News?
Oh yeah, Wrestling Observer
News. Newsletter. FTR suggested the loss to Big Bill and Ricky Starks, and the idea at the time was it would lead to a rematch, and the winners would defend the AEW tag titles against the Young Bucks. The belief right now is that everything has changed. I want to go back because, like y'all know, I'm close with Lyric Wrestling. Now, she tweeted this on October 10th. No, the 11th, because I got a screenshot. But she said we're going to have this conversation about this recent FTR tag title reign and how it stalled the whole division this year. And then, of course, Dax responded to her, and then her answer, which was right, She said, I feel as if other teams in the division that were hot going into 2023 got cooled off once y'all won the belts, and the momentum of the division never really recovered, which she is right. And this whole thing kind of proves everybody's point. The tag division has stalled since FTR became tag titles. I'll let you have the floor. The floor is
No, I
yours.
mean, I said this anytime I get the chance to talk about FTR. They're not who they think they are in terms of importance. They got in their mindset that because they had each title at every level in WWE, that means they're worth being at the top of the card. Because remember, they came into AEW expecting the tag titles, expecting the match with the Young Bucks. They thought they would main event that Full Gear and were mad when they didn't, knowing damn well Tony Khan's mindset is at the title, at least until this year, main events every pay-per-view. But because our lackluster champion can't, carry shit, that title doesn't main event half the pay-per-views this year. But it's funny that those three guys were in the Pinnacle together because FTR and MJF all had that same energy of like, you're not that guy. Take a back seat and realize it, because look at FTR's matches since winning the titles. They've had Iron Savages, Workhorsemen, a bunch of other decent tag matches, and they've have watered it down. But then they'll have that 50-minute match, 58-minute match with Bullet Club Gold, which again Jay White carried them through. They'll have the Young Bucks match at All In, the rubber match between the two of them, in which the Young Bucks did the right thing and gave them the win on the biggest stage as well. That's the thing, when all the shit comes down to how the Young Bucks power played them when they got to the company, of how they booked us as champions right away just so they could take the titles off of us, and then we didn't do nothing for a year. Well, last year they had the run of runs, as you would know. Your award show's coming up. Famously, last year they were your tag team of the year, despite not holding the AEW World titles, tag titles themselves. They did all that fucking. It was like Alabama, like beating up on the smaller teams, except losing the national titles. So because they went out and got the AAA tag titles, they went out and got the ROH tag titles, and they got the New Japan IWGP World Tag titles. They did all this stuff to make up
Which
for them.
was the Bucks' idea.
But they went out and got all those titles, which the Young Bucks had already held before. So the idea of like they're chasing the Young Bucks accomplishments, which the Young Bucks all the time were sending them like, we've ROH champs, we've been there. AAA champs, we've been there. Like IWGP champs, done it already. Like, show me something else. And F7 star at this point, FTR, I think is what they are. Like, it doesn't mean shit when you can't carry everyone else. I would say this time and time again. Like, they faced American Alpha. Look at Chad Gable right now. Red hot as a singles wrestler. I mean, what he was? Red hot as a tag team wrestler with Jason Jordan. Look at them with DIY. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Is that a bad tag team? Fuck no. Mm-mm. But when you saw them versus Enzo and Big Cass, horrible match. Well, that's because Enzo Amore isn't a great wrestler at all. And Big Bill was still a lot of potential, but, time was going to come. But when these guys brag about how they can carry anyone to a good match, we don't see it time and time again. As you said before, when they face the Lucha Brothers, they slow the match all the way down. They've been ducking the Acclaim, so we don't know what that match looks like. They let did Swerve and Keith Lee beat them, I think they might have. Because I think that's how they were going to try to get those tag titles back, and Swerve and Keith Lee. And that was a match where FTR looked like they were holding their own, but Keith Lee kind of was a big star of that match. I'm not shitting on Swerve because, again, I can acknowledge Swerve's in-ring talent. But that was a match where FTR was trying to show, because they were on this whole run of like every match we've been having. Even when they were winning those tag titles, those matches still weren't that good. Let's not act like they didn't face the Briscoes 3 times. These are the Briscoes. R.I.P. to Jay Briscoe. But like, you faced one of the best tag teams of all time 3 times, and you're trying to act like we're the greatest tag team in the world. It's a 2-race street each time in those matches. It's not one direction. It's not you carry. Can you imagine them being like, we carried Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe? Are you out of your mind? So they get in their whole mindset of, and this is where the CM Punk aspect comes in with the whole CMFTR that was planned for Collision, where they were going to run Collision at the 3 of them. He gets himself kicked out of the company. And now Who knows what they want? Because they try to make themselves bookers with this whole Ricky Starks, Big Bill thing. And this just goes to show that this fucks Big Bill and Ricky Starks even more than them losing the tag title match. Because having them be awkward transitional champions with no end in sight just because you guys didn't want to drop the titles to the Bucks at Full Gear like it should be. Mm-hmm. Because realistically, Full Gear, Young Bucks versus FTR, this would be the one for the main event. You could do 2 out of 3 falls like they should do, or an Iron Man match. Like you could do the final one, winner takes all the falls. It goes until there's a winner. No one fall bullshit. We do this until no one can get back up. Instead, they were like, we really don't want to lose to these guys because that means it would be 2-2, and we don't want to do that. Well, if it's 2 out of 3 falls, it'd be 3-2, and then they'd be really upset because they're fickle and count shit like that. Meanwhile, this is the man who cries and whines about how he's got a wife and kid at home, and that's his sole focus. But he gets on Twitter to get at Lyric because he has nothing else in his life to focus on. This is a grown man who brags about his family, but is on Twitter to talk to people who he thinks are calling him a hater. Like you did, you ruined the tag division. He did. He ruined the tag division. Let's not act like his man didn't get popped for some gun shit earlier this year too. So they're not stand-up guys like they think they are. It's just a fraudulence. And that's what they are. They're fraud TR. They've been fraud TR for years and years. And this whole fuck their revival that Cody started, they're the same fucking guy that he is. They trick you with this old school bullshit, and this is how it should be with simple moves and blah, blah, blah. But come on. Now we're in this fucked. Oh, good.
No, I was just saying they just I was joking though, but I meant it like
well, no,
they was saying they was talking about they was saying like they wrestled in front of y'all have to listen, they wrestled in front of 80K. Everybody loved it. And I'm just like, the Bucks did that. Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson. I don't know. They gotta go. They could go to Impact.
But look what's happening now. House of Black has returned, and House of Black's already on their own thin ice with Tony Khan. House of Black isn't getting what they want. And to be honest, at this point, as much as I love Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, what are they going to want that they're going to be happy with? They gave them the trios titles. They gave them their stupid rules that didn't make any sense. It seemed like Tony Khan didn't like that with the house rules because it ruined every trios match they had. They dropped the trios titles, and the whole like Malachi Black still might be injured. He says he's not that injured. But Brody King's the one who actually gets injured because we saw the cast on his hand while he was managing Julia Hart. Buddy Matthews is engaged right now, so he's been away with that. But at some point, they have to go all in on House of Black just based off the talent and the reaction they get. And then you bring in LFI, who you can tell Tony Khan is all in on Roosh. The rest of the guys, as much as I like Joe Listico, Preston Vance is okay, but Tony Khan is all in on Roosh. And my frustration is that Andrade needs to be with them as well instead of this shit he's going to do with CJ Perry and Miro. Because we need a stronger faction to really... I know he does. I know. But we need a stronger faction to rival Bullet Club Gold, and I think LFI with Andrade, Roosh, Jessica, and Preston Vance is that faction. So we have LFI, House of Black, FTR, and the random tag team of Ricky Starks and Big Bill with the tag titles. And again, like Lyric said, what was the point of having a fatal four-way to determine number one contenders if the Bucks get fucked over while being number one contenders? Because now we're going to get a fatal four-way, I guess, to determine who's our champions, even though we already know who our champions are. It's Big Bill and Ricky Starks because it's a fucking clusterfuck. Because one guy said his ribs hurt and he wrestled this past Saturday after dropping the belt 2 weeks ago. So what's going on except what's going on except guys doing the Triple H shit of like, that's not going to work for me. Like I said, Hulk Hogan, that's not going to work for me. Triple H, I don't want to do that. Even John Cena with the Nexus said like, I don't want to lose to these guys. And after he beat the Nexus, he was like, fuck, those guys should have won. You know what? I made a mistake. Mm-hmm. This is why the wrestlers can't be the bookers. Even Kenny Omega and the
No,
Bucks, like when they're the bookers, they know that they shouldn't lose, but they don't want to get yelled at for winning. So when Kenny Omega and the Bucks book themselves to lose, everyone says, well, now they make themselves look weak and old. Like, to be honest, they should. That's better storytelling. They're getting up there in age anyway, and they should be on the downside because when I get mad when people are like, oh, it's not believable, like, so-and-so should never beat this person. Rey Mysterio should never beat anyone in a wrestling match then, regardless of his skill set. He should never beat
yes, he
anyone.
should.
No, because he's 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. He shouldn't beat anyone if we're going off what
You're
wrestling
short
is like.
shortism.
No, I'm
Is
saying
that heightism?
put me in a match against Samoa Joe. Who you think's gonna win? Based off appearance
You
only.
can.
I can be a 6-degree black belt and whatever, and it's still people would be like, no, that big guy's gonna squash this dude. Like, so at the end of the day, believability doesn't matter. Again, like Keith Lee's a big guy who does athletic things. Small guys can do power spots. It's all wrestling, so you can't just be like, I'm not buying this. So when the wrestlers themselves become the bookers and want to make themselves so sympathetic, because that's what this FTR thing is. It's them trying to get sympathy with I feel bad for us. We lost the tag titles, because the crowd's going to rally when they win, because the crowd loves to chant fucking bullshit, sing-along shit every week. They'll chant to anything, and they want to pop when titles change hands. Simple as that. They'll pop when Edge shows up to be like, yes, we got Edge. When Edge has a match, it's fucking crickets. Because he can't wrestle anymore. It's as simple as that.
I tried to tell everybody.
So when FTR dropped those belts and everyone's like, what? It's because they want to have that return pop of like, now when we get it's the Dusty Road shit. The crowd's going to buy it. So when we challenge again, they'll really want us to win. Like, no. The crowd wanted the Young Bucks to win. You pissed everyone off because they're like, fuck you guys, win the match. Look what happens. And the worst part, I've said this all year, you've said all year, the Acclaimed still didn't get theirs. That's the worst part of this story.
They fucked the Acclaimed over.
I mean, we kind of skipped over. I mean, as much as, again, I dislike MJF, the Max Caster stuff is pretty funny. Him just being bad at flirting and being just too OD with stuff. I'm enjoying it. But again, them as trios champions, it's not working either. And I know, like you said last week, you said it perfectly. Like the trios titles, it's not supposed to have like real weight and merit. It's just another match, another title match to put on free TV to make you watch. But it's wasting the Acclaim's time more than anything, because they don't need to be stagnant as trio champs. It's just good because, like they say, everyone loves the Acclaim based off their merchandise, based off their reaction when they come out, but no one wants to see them against random trios put together, or these trios that they know they aren't going to have a chance. So at the end of the day, that the way that match ended with all those teams in the ring at once, I'm like, this fucker, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, they fucked the whole division. We have no tag team options now because they said they want to be the tag team. Because who's going to represent LFI? Drew Listico and Preston Vance? Because we're all going to be mad if Roosh is in the tag match, because we all think Roosh should be on to bigger and better things, and as he should. Then what's the point of just bringing LFI? Again, it's that thing where I shit on Tony Khan for being a bad booker and throwing too many things all in at once, but I think his hands were tied on this one, because he, like he did with MJF in this year-long shitty title reign, he gave into the person because he was like, don't leave. What do you want to do? I'll let you do it. And he has to stop doing that at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think it is since the day it came out that, Jerry Lynn basically hinted that he hasn't been telling folks about creative like he used to do, because certain wrestlers, Dax, keeps leaking it to the dirt sheets and things like that. So he's starting to slowly put his foot down, but okay, it's time to start punching folks now. Just start, not physically, but it's slowly getting there.
The whole idea of like, let's drop the tag. Yeah, and I agree. Like, there are moments where he is trying that, but the whole idea of like, let's drop the tag belts because Cash is kind of hurt. Well, is he hurt? Well, like, no, he can wrestle. We just think you should drop him. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, the whole thing. It's yeah, and we're in this place now
Yes.
where because MJF got his way, everyone else is going to look at it that way. Unfortunately, like, well, you caved into him. Why can't you do that for me? And
Mm-hmm.
MJF is now having to finally put that work in after 6 months of bullshit and not trying. He's being streamlined into all these loose ends feuds until Jay White, and Jay White's the guy left hanging. Like, am I gonna matter or not? Like, I've already told you, like, I'm setting up, for the Jay White loss at Full Gear because it's not gonna make sense for him to win at this point. Yeah, is what it
Or
is.
what if he does?
If he does, it's the only way that makes sense realistically, because we need a new champion. I'm not just saying that because it'll be Jay White. It's like we don't need a Roman Reigns in AEW because that's why it's getting boring as fuck over there. It's already getting boring with the Seth Rollins thing as well. So we don't need, another 6 months of MJF and because CM Punk can't even come back to get that title again. That was the point of MJF being champion, was MJF was going to be champion. CM Punk was going to come back to challenge as the rightful champion. And we couldn't even get there because CM Punk had to be an asshole. That's how bad it is. And the other, like I said, the only reason Jay White's in the position he's in is because Adam Cole, by the worst luck of all time, gets injured. Because that's the only reason I think Jay White's in this position. And the only reason.
But then they threw Samoa Joe in now.
But the Samoa Joe thing is MJF has to beat it. They're going to let MJF beat all these guys clean. Again, he beat Kenny Omega clean. He didn't do any dirty shit. He beat him straight up. No, nothing. It's going to be the same thing with Samoa Joe. It's going to be the same thing with Wardlow because they are trying to make MJF the good guy in the story, even though we all know he's not the good guy. Like, as much as the crowd cheers for him, they cheer all the bad guys, They only boo Don Callis. That's the only person that gets booed in AEW. It's
yeah. So because I just it's a lot, but FCR is the problem in the tag division, and they're one of the problems in wrestling. Like, we don't want that. It's stuff like this make you think as to why Vince was so controlling with everything that he's done because of shit like this. Because you have wrestlers that take advantage of promoters too. It's not sometimes the other way around. It can be on both ends. And FTR is on for them to be like, we honor Bret Hart. They are doing some Shawn Michaels type shit right now.
No, let's not forget Bret Hart. Again, Bret Hart did this type of shit because Bret Hart did the I'll lose to Shawn if Shawn loses to me. That's Bret Hart shit. No, that's what it was. And because when Shawn Michaels said, well, if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't want to lose to you. That's what pissed Bret Hart off because he was like, oh, this motherfucker sees the shit I'm running and doesn't want to play ball, which is why they were both wrong. They were always in the right and in the wrong at the same time because Bret Hart was selfish like that because the only reason he agreed to drop it to Yokozuna to then for Hogan to win is because Bret Hart's like, well, I'm going to beat Hogan, right? And Vince was like, yeah. And Hulk Hogan said, I never said it would. Hulk Hogan said, I never said it would be for a title. And Bret Hart was like, so you fucked me. So you made me lose the title because you promised me a win I was never going to get. That's Bret Hart shit. And that's what FTR is doing. And we wonder why Bret Hart got, kicked in the head. His karma.
Don't say that. Do not say that.
That and cheating on his wife.
I don't condone.
That and cheating on his wife. Yeah, Again, Dax Harwood's going to search this. If Dax Harwood vanity searches himself on Twitter to find Lyric's tweet, he's going to find this pod and be like, well, tell me how I'm wrong again. It's like, I just did. And I don't like Dax Harwood. I don't care. Like, what, am I going to have the chance to interview Dax Harwood? I would never want to talk to Dax Harwood. I have nothing to lose. Fuck him. That's what these people get scared to say, that they don't like the wrestlers they don't like.
I'm trying to think what would y'all talk about.
Nothing, because I would be like, would you want to interview him? I'd be like, fuck no.
He said,
It's like in
no.
Heat, when he says, don't waste my motherfucking time. Talk to Dax Harwood about what?
You know, about sports and whatever men talk about.
No, he says he only cares about two things: his wife, his daughter, and three things. This business, as he says. Fuck out of here.
My wife, my lovely.
It's just as bad as MJF. It's just as bad as the MJF shit. God, that promo video package where he said he had the best Iron Man match of all time. He ran outside that match for 40 minutes, dumping water on himself while Brian Danielson put him in holds. That match was, anyone who says that was the best Iron Man match should have their fucking head examined, or they're scared to lose their press credentials, because that match was horrible. Tell me that was a good Iron Man match. It was not.
It was good. It's not in my top 3.
And he said I had the best dog collar match. Dog collar matches, strap matches, they're the worst type of matches. No one cares about those type of stipulations. The we're stuck together, we gotta have a matches. Fuck those. I get tired of those. God, everything in that promo sucked. And with his back knee because he's taking too much shit.
You're not Southern, so you don't like those matches. I love those matches.
They're just boring. Be like, oh, we're stuck together. We gotta have a match. Well, that's what a match is supposed to be.
It's not boring. It's not boring. Mm-mm. Okay, so before we get out of here, y'all, Davis, tell everybody who's your AEW wrestler of the week.
Mine is Kyle Fletcher. Again, he was phenomenal this week. As much as the in-ring stuff as he was with the storytelling stuff with Don Callis. Again, at the end of the match, I don't know how he couldn't break from laughing when Don Callis held him face to face, with his hand on his head. Like, that's it. He did. I would just be laughing like, okay, man, settle down. Like, all right. Like, again, that's where like some of these people actually do have acting talent, because that was some like try not to laugh because Don Callis like, yes, you got it. Like he's showing that, that killer instinct that, he has actually been showing that in the matches he's had prior. The tag match with Jericho and Omega, and then the singles match with Omega. And you can even tell in the Aussie Open, like he kind of calls a lot of the shots. As much as Mark Davis is the powerhouse and the brood of the tag team, Cal Fletcher is the one like running the place, like the quarterback. Like you said, he's the point guard of the team. I mean, he's already taller than Steph Curry, so he might as well be out there on the court, like ISO, like. But yeah, shout out to Kyle Fletcher. Everyone's favorite Australian wrestler these days, because Jay White's, New Zealand. So yeah, I don't think he. Or is he? I always forget. I always get confused by Australia and New Zealand because they'll get mad if you mix up the two.
Yeah. My wrestler of the week is Kenny Omega. Amazing. The guy is phenomenal. One of the best in the world. I love watching him go. Like we all say, he can make a broomstick wrestle. Like, even though, yes, it was for the championship match against MJF, and kudos to him too. I'll give him that. But it was more of a Kenny Omega match, and I enjoy watching Kenny Omega. So shout out to Kenny Omega. Great match. Probably, I love seeing Kenny Omega in Collision. I like seeing him in Dynamite. I just like seeing Kenny Omega. So if you're not an AEW fan, go to a show. You got to witness Kenny Omega before he calls it quits.
Yeah.
You got to see these people while they are still wrestling, because I'm telling you, I've seen them almost probably 3 times out of the 4 years at AEW. So it's been a pleasure to see Kenny Omega. So,
the unfortunate part about him losing, though, real quick, was that video package where Jay White interrupted Kenny Omega to be like, let's not forget you and I got history. So even if you win this title, it's coming up off you anyway. And they, use the footage of Jay White beating can't make a New Japan. So hopefully they run that back, because I've been waiting for them to run that back since that match, because that was a match that really put Jay White on the map, because he made Jay White look like $1 million in that match, and that's why Jay White is kind of the guy he is now. So hopefully we get that sooner rather than later, whether it's for the title or not, because the Elite versus the Bang Bang Gang is something that is probably going to happen as well.
Yes. Yes. So before we get out of here, y'all know, because I've been advertising it for almost 2 months now. Next week it is the AEW my awards nominees reveal. I reveal the nominees for the nominations, because the actual awards is December 18th, but I will reveal the nominations next Monday. So make sure y'all be here. Y'all tune in to see what the category is and who's in the category. I promise y'all are in for a treat. It's gonna be hard on some of them. Y'all gonna be like, what the fuck? I remember this. Like, I put so much effort into this, y'all. Like, I will rewatch the stuff and all of the other things, and I worked really hard on this. It's all me. This is just my way of showing you guys, the audience, of my work, my craft, and I am passionate about what I do. So I have these awards to just show y'all that the girl be paying attention, okay? I don't just say anything to say it. I don't do that, And then I also did this because we know that people like PWI and other people that does lists and things like that, they are very, very WWE-ish expectations with their wrestling when they decide certain things. And I hear y'all, and AEW fans in specific, we, it's just want to be fair treatment all around, not just you're expecting WWE in different places. So I did this awards for the AEW fans, for us, something that we can discuss, something that could be like, oh, this blase, something that y'all don't have to feel that it is favoritism going on. So this is all, because if it was my bias, Chris Jericho win everything, okay? So it's not one of those. But I can't wait to reveal it. CJ will be on with me next Monday. His reaction is his natural reaction, because he don't even know who is nominated. Like, nobody knows but me, okay? So I'm ready for that. Make sure y'all tune in on Monday. I'm not going to go over Dynamite or Collision. Just make sure y'all watch other, listen to Public Enemies on Wednesday for those things, because I'm not going to go over Dynamite, Rampage, or Collision next Monday. Next Monday is fully on the awards. Like, it's fully on the nominations. That's what we're going to go over, because it's lengthy. This one is lengthy. I'm going to tell you that right now. This is the AEW Grammys. Okay, this is lengthy. It's not just 10. This, I counted. It's at least, well, this ain't even including the pre-show awards. I'm getting the pre-show awards out the way. Like, the actual is like 20. And then including the pre-show is probably like 20, maybe like 25, 27, somewhere in there. So make sure y'all tune in next Monday for the awards, nominee awards special. I have some great female, Black female journalists that is also going to be writing about it. So make sure you look out for their articles. Of course, we're honoring Jeff Jarrett this year for the awards. Last year it was Billy Gunn. This year it is Jeff Jarrett. Hearts from Talk a Champion is doing her monologue for me. She's writing it out. So make sure y'all come in, be on time next Monday, because we're going to get this party started. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to have y'all talking and guessing and all that. So be sure to tune in next Monday. I'm going to be advertising like crazy, but make sure y'all tune in next Monday for the nomination show. So before we get out of here, David, you have anything?
No, I got no plug these days, as you know. So it'll be a long time before I'm back here. So hope you enjoyed it while I was here. Again, just tune into the award nominations next week, and then the award show next month. Well, we're almost at the end of next month, because it's the end of October. So get ready for that. Keep tuning in every week. every Monday to watch Keeks do her thing. Again, CJ, Ben, and Graham every Wednesday. Their Patreon as well, so make sure you're signing up for that. Support the brand, support the content that they do, and all that. Shout out to Because on the production. So yeah, thanks for having me back. Thanks for having me back, and yeah, I got much to say these days.
Yes, get down there. I be trying to tell him to come back. He said whenever he ready. He likes doing it part time now, y'all. He likes doing it like once every 3 once every what?
What are you trying to say?
Nothing, I'm asking.
Nah, I'm saying I don't do it anymore, so
Sean,
I'm
he's
only
gone.
here because you asked. You asked. That's the only reason I'm here.
I did it just like that video on Instagram, y'all. He's a part-timer. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a part-timer. I'm done. So
he's a part-timer, y'all.
Go on.
So thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all come in next Monday. I was about to say next Wednesday. Hit my getaway so we can get up out of here.
You've mentioned a couple names recently. Who were they?
Listen, man. They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.
Thanks.